Hi there. Welcome to the AiArthritis classroom. We are going to do a session today on prior authorization. This is a topic that's very frustrating to many patients because we have all been dealt with this, I think, at one time or another. If you don't know me, my name is Ray Padnott. I'm the project manager for AiArthritis's Knowledge's Empowerment program, where we have everything from educational videos to glossaries to um, classrooms like this one that will inform you so that you will be empowered to be a good advocate for yourself and then for patients really all over the country and the world who are dealing with the same problems. With me is Brittany Murray. Brittany, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Brittany Murray. I'm a volunteer with AiArthritis and also a person living with psoriatic arthritis, and I am a member of the Knowledge is Empowerment community.
Great. So we've got two people here living with psoriatic arthritis. So we're going to be kind of focusing on our experiences with that. But this is true for anyone in any kind of autoinflammatory condition. The principles here that we're discussing. All right. Now, first thing I want to do is I want to go and thank our project sponsors that make educational videos possible. So that's Amgen, Genentech, Biogen, AbbVie, and Bristol Myers Squibb. So thank you for the grant making this educational effort possible. So we're going to do some class participation here. And one of the things that I recommend that people do is there's a QR code down here that takes us to the Knowledge's Empowerment website. And that gives you a lot of different tools. There's a glossary there that you can understand. If you hear a term that we're using that maybe you don't understand, feel free to look it up. There's definitions there. And on that page, you'll also see that there's tons of opportunities for people to come on with see more classes about this topic or other related topics. There are field trips that you can go on where we get a bunch of advocates together to go and try to make a difference, in a particular state if they're considering a policy change or a legislative fly-in or something like that. And most importantly, we really want to get patient stories because I have stories. Brittany has stories, and these are good, but our stories aren't the only stories. And the more stories we have, as I say, as Tiffany often says, one story is, an anecdote. Hundreds of stories are, powerful evidence, and they can really shape and move policy. And it's important that that's kind of why we're all getting involved here to do that. And then you can also send us questions you have too. So a little outline on what we're going to be doing today. First, we're going to define prior authorization. What is that? Maybe you know what that is already, maybe you don't, but just to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about. And specifically, we're going to look at how that affects rheumatology patients like Brittany and me. And then we're going to sit there and talk about our own experience in what we call the teacher time talk. And then we're going to talk about patient stories. And Brittany has some, and I do, and we hope that you have some too that you can share. And then finally, how do we get involved? What can you do to kind of change this policy so that this will be better so people can get access to the care and the medicines that they need in a more timely fashion? So, Brittany, why don't you explain what prior authorization is for those of us who don't know?
Yeah, so prior authorization is basically any time that you need a treatment or procedure or medication, your doctor often has to go to the insurance company and say that you need it and get approval for it. And oftentimes that is met with rejections and justifications and appeals.
Well, see, now I'm confused because it seems like you've invented the medicine. They've made it available. It's been approved by the FDA. The doctor has prescribed it. Why is the insurance company saying I can't have it? I mean, maybe I've even had it before.
That's a great question. Turns out they're
As I
very
understand it, it's
expensive.
about cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to control the costs. And some of these medications can be very expensive, and they just don't want to give them out without any kind of guardrails on that. So, I mean, we can certainly be cognizant of that. But as a patient, if I'm not getting the medicine that I need in a timely fashion, all kinds of horrible things will happen. So, I this is presents a lot of problems. And you have a nice video on here that's your first video here, which is that QR code there, where we talk all about prior authorization, and you can kind of I encourage anybody just to watch that if you want a little more in-depth dive into what that's about. But the PBM, who is the pharmacy benefit manager, in this, they administer the medication delivery for the insurer. Many times they will ask the medical professional, this is typically your prescribing doctor, it could be a PA or someone like that, to justify. So why did you prescribe Brittany that medicine? Does she really need that? And now at this point, it feels like they're practicing medicine without a license or something. I mean, that's I feel that that's kind of offensive to me just as a patient. But anyway, the real problem here is you get denials, you get appeals, and delays. And Brittany, why don't you tell people what happens when you start getting delays? I mean, I'll put these up here.
Yeah. So if you get delays, you might miss your medication. And then your symptoms might flare. Your medication might get denied altogether, and you might have to find a new one. There might not be another one out there, or the only other option might be something that you've already tried and failed, or could have horrible side effects. So there's a lot of consequences to not getting that medication or getting a delay in the treatment or medication.
Yeah, well, I know sometimes I'm stable on a medication and have been taking this for a while. And then they say, oh, you need to reauthorize that. And now I'm losing stability that I had because I was on the right medicine. And, some people say that, this increases costs for the patient because now the patient who is stable is having additional problems that they weren't having before. Now they're going and getting more visits, they're getting more hospitalizations or, other comorbidities or flares, and they need to get other medicine to kind of correct for that. So I I think it's important to recognize that there are reasons to have pre-approvals, but if it's a medicine for a stable patient, I think that's just kind of transparently a delay tactic by the insurance company or the PBM, and I don't think that's right. All right, well, let's talk. I feel like we've been talking, but we're going to talk some more. Now, Brittany, you have a really good story in some of your videos about some of the problems that you've been facing when you've had to do a prior authorization. Could you give people a little highlights of what that experience was like for you?
Yeah. So one of my favorite ones to tell in relation to AR arthritis is how I actually got into the organization. Think back to COVID. I stopped my medications to take the COVID vaccine. And so I was already, preparing for a state of flare, not taking my biologic for a few weeks. In that same time period, I had to do a refill, which meant a prior authorization, which got delayed. And by the time it was time for me to take my medication was stuck in prior authorization. I was already flaring. I had the vaccine and I was in a state of pain, fatigue. And by the time my medication got approved, it didn't work anymore.
Wow.
And so then I spent years after that trying to find a new biologic that worked. Yeah. And, we're years past that and I still haven't found it. So, it has lasting effects. That prior authorization that is a normal process for the insurance companies, has set me back years, of finding stability and finding a medication that works.
Well, at least the
And you,
insurance company saved money by not giving you medication for a month, so it's probably
right.
all worth it,
Yeah.
right?
It was great, yeah. So, and then, you think about that, you repeat that with every single medication that you take, and with
Mhm.
an autoimmune condition, you do that multiple times a month with multiple medications.
Well, I'm sure that this is a story that is not unique to you because I know I've had similar things here where I'll order my medication online, do everything I'm supposed to do. It's been approved. I've been on it for years, and then we're getting a reauthorization, and I get a delay, and there's no kind of communication about what's going on. And the end result of it is I might have to go without my medication for a month. And sometimes I can do that, but not everybody can.
Yeah.
So, and as far as physicians go, the physicians are really upset about prior authorization. The AMA, American Medical Association, did a survey last year on prior authorization, and this is linked in the show notes for anybody who wants to kind of dive in and see what the doctors think about this. But I'll say that they said 93% of the physicians surveyed said that there were delays in care as a result of prior authorization, delays in people getting the right medicine, and 82% said that this could lead to patients just abandoning treatment altogether, just walking away from it because it's not worth jumping through all the hoops. And they have, I know my own rheumatologist, this is true, but they said 40% of the rheumatologists have dedicated staff working just on these prior authorization, jumping through these hoops.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a good time suck, and that's time that they could be spending with patients or investing into longer office visits or something else. So
Yeah. I wanna
good
double
thing.
tap into a couple of those things, though. First of all, I think I thank God for those people, though, that are dedicated at those offices that
Yeah.
work solely on those prior authorizations, because they save us so much time and heartache, getting those put through. So the ones that have them, it's amazing for us, not for them, but for us.
Yeah.
And I think something else to remember is, this is AR arthritis, but those prior authorizations do apply for other conditions and other medications too. So it could be a more life threatening medication that could go through prior authorization and could get delayed and have much more serious consequences than you or I might experience.
Yeah. It's across the
So it's
whole health.
super important
You're
to
absolutely
remember.
right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And well, it's funny because a lot of these denials where they need to go and have these appeals where you're getting the prior off, a lot of these are automated denials now. They're not even doing it on medical reasons. They're just making people do a prior auth just to create an extra hoop so that you don't get it unless you really want it. And I think that's kind of unconscionable myself. But they're working on the other side now, where the physicians are kind of getting together to try to see if we can automate the appeals process and automate the prior auth. So
There you go.
hopefully that will go to make things a little easier and a little faster and better for patients ultimately.
Perfect.
All right. So speaking of patients and patient stories, as I said, Brittany has her patient story here that she just kind of talked about. There's a whole video on that I encourage everyone to watch. There are other patient videos about prior authorization and all these different topics. You can go over there and see Brittany's at that QR code there. But just go to the Knowledge is Empowerment website, and there's a list of all the different topics, all the different videos that we've made, and all these different topics. And as Tiffany always says, nothing can replace lived experience. Okay. When people are making these policies, they need to know what the patients are thinking. Okay. And a lot of times you kind of aim at the middle, you'd say, what's the policy that works for most people? Okay. And that's when you're an insurance company or a government agency, something like that. But the truth of the matter is, individual patient specific factors are really important. And that's what our physicians work with. And that when they prescribe something, there's a reason for it because they know our medical history and they know what we need, and we should be able to have that respected, I think. And also, one story is an example, as I said before, and hundreds of stories cannot be ignored. So please go to the Knowledge is Empowerment website, watch these videos. There's the links in there where you can share your own stories if this seems familiar to you or you want to complain about how this has happened to you. And so that's what I'm saying here for you can go to the aiarthritis.org/rant and you can just rant away. You can type your rant and we can post that, or you can record a little video and put it in there. And as I said on the YouTube videos, there's links there where you can do that as well. And so I encourage everyone to do that because it's very informative. And the more patient stories we get going, the more likely we are to affect policy change. Pop quiz, hotshot. All right. By the end of this webinar, so you're supposed to have learned something from this, okay? And so that was our goal here, not just to have fun, right? So can you answer these questions affirmatively? Can you say yes to these? I feel I could briefly say what prior authorization is. But Brittany, I know you can because you just did. So hopefully, the audience, I hope you can. Good. I feel that I can provide at least one example of why prior authorization may not be good for me. I know I can because I just did. But I'm pretty sure you can too. And then third question. I feel if I heard someone sharing a story about prior authorization, I'd be able to say, I think that is a prior authorization problem that you're having. Then you should send them over to AiArthritis so they can record a video or post a rant complaining about that, because we want to gather these stories and take them to the policymaker so we can go and change these policies. And there are reform efforts, at the state level and federal level where they're trying to go and just kind of limit some of the prior authorization policies that these insurers and PBMs use. So we'd love for you to be a part of that. Okay. And as I said, there are more classes, there's more webinars, there's field trips, there's elevated experiences. Go to that QR code and you can learn all about it. Thank you, Brittany, for coming and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for everyone who tuned in to listen.